tomorrow, at the time of recording this, around 9:20 tomorrow night, FAU is going to be taking on the University of Memphis. Their first game, their second ever appearance in the NCAA tournament. The 8 versus the 9 matchup there. We've already seen a really hot start with Virginia getting upset at the time of recording this earlier today. And FAU, it wouldn't be really an upset. Those 8 versus 9 matchups are generally very close, very competitive games that either way, really, if one team wins or the other, it's not the biggest surprise. We already saw Maryland, an 8 seed, take down the 9 seed West Virginia earlier today. And the FAU Owls are hopeful to get their very first tournament win tomorrow, again, against Memphis. And we're going to take a little bit look at the two teams, what the two teams provide, some of the star players for each team, and what their road was to get here. So FAU had their best season in school history. If you're following the school, you well know that. 31-3, won Conference USA tournament against UAB, absolutely blew them out, 78-56 at the conference final for them. Meanwhile, Memphis also are coming off a conference victory, the conference that FAU is going to be going into next year, the AAC, American Athletic Conference. They were able to take down Houston, albeit Houston was missing their best player, but still, they got the work done. They put themselves in a position to win it, and they won it. They won against the University of Houston 75-65 last week. So you have two champions, first and foremost. You have two teams that have already achieved some sort of silverware this year. FAU won the Conference USA for the first time ever. Memphis, we've seen success with them throughout the years in the American Athletic Conference. They win their conference over the number one team in the entire country, Houston. And then what do these two teams provide in terms of players? And with Houston, it is one main focal point, that being Kendrick Davis, averages 22 points per game, their biggest game of the season against Houston, 31 points. He's a guard that can really do it all, 34.6% from beyond the arc, averaging 22 points per game, as well as 5.6 assists per game, which I believe leads the team in scoring. He is a very much do-it-all guard, a score, ball-dominant guard. If you take away Kendrick Davis, there's a very good chance you are going to beat this Memphis squad. There is not a lot behind him on this Memphis team. This is a very talented team, don't get me wrong, but this is a team that heavily relies on Kendrick Davis. They have some other scoring options. Williams with his 16 points in that matchup against the University of Houston. But it's a pretty significant drop-off from the 22 points you see from Davis going down to their second leading scorer, which we don't see with FAU. FAU is able to spread the ball out, get it to multiple options. After Kendrick Davis, it's DeAndre Williams. He averages just over 17 points per game, which is still a very good number for in college basketball to be averaging. However, Kendrick Davis is certainly the guy you have to look out for. After DeAndre Williams is Keontae Kennedy with his 9 points per ball game. So 2 double-digit scores, 1 above 20 points per game. If you shut Davis down, there's a good chance you shut down the University of Memphis squad. It is, I don't want to say that simple, but it is that simple. He is the biggest man to worry about for Memphis. If you're looking at FAU, it is very much a very different approach. You're looking at multiple different scorers. This was one of the deepest teams in all of college basketball, really a 9, even sometimes 10-man rotation that head coach Dudley May felt comfortable on the floor with this year. Leading guys, Janelle Davis, Elijah Martin, experience with Michael Forrest. Janelle Davis leads the team, 13.5 points per game. Elijah Martin with 13.2. And then Vlad Golden, 10.6 points per ball game. I really like to see Vlad get involved early and often and really watch those fouls. He's had an issue this year, especially guarding down in the post, coming down on the other team's big man. Those arms coming down, you're going to get called for that every single time. That contact there, refs really looking for that. Even though you get to this tournament, you get to these basically playoff games, refs are more likely to swallow the whistle. Refs are a little bit more likely to swallow the whistle, but it's not something you can rely on. So I would love to see Vlad get involved early and often, watch him avoid the foul trouble. But then it is the dynamic guard duo of Janelle Davis and Elijah Martin. Elijah Martin was the one that got the Conference USA tournament player of the tournament. His 30 points in the final was really what cemented that. He was incredible throughout the tournament, as well as being incredible all season long. He's very aggressive on both sides of the ball. So I can very much see him being the leading scorer for the Owls while going on the other side and guarding Kendrick Davis. But it's not a one-man effort that FAU is going to be throwing at Kendrick Davis. We saw both times that I got to watch them play UAB, did not get to see the away game. Both times I got to watch them was at home on the ESPN game, which I was fortunate enough to commentate, as well as the conference championship game. Jordan Jelly Davis, he is the third leading scorer in all of college basketball going into that game. He was the third leading scorer in the regular season, and he struggled. He was 5 for 17, I believe, 15 points, just was chucking up shots really at the end, trying to give them any sort of hope, and they obviously lost by 20, more than 20, so that didn't come to be. The first game, 3 points through the first half, did have a second half explosion, but the treatment that he saw is what Kendrick Davis is likely going to expect from the FAU defense. Not just one man, but a constant rotation of their big comes up to set a screen, DeAndre Williams comes up to set a screen, then whoever is on him switches off. FAU loves to run 3-guard sets, so it's going to be Greenlee. It's going to be Elijah Martin, Janelle Davis, Michael Forrest. It's going to be whoever is on the floor is going to be switching onto Kendrick Davis every single ball screen. That's what I expect to see from the Owls because it's worked with a better scorer, just points per game wise, a better score than we see here with Kendrick Davis. Kendrick Davis is still going to get his, but the Owls can limit him under his season average and then just try to maintain DeAndre Williams, because I'm actually more concerned about DeAndre Williams, the forward play, how they're going to line up with him, because I don't feel comfortable with Vladislav Golden on him, but if not him, then who else? Because there's not a lot of size to go around. DeAndre Williams is a much more physical player. He's a do-it-all player. He can get it done in multiple aspects on the offensive side of the floor. 42% three-point shooter from the forward. FAU doesn't really have, outside of Brandon Weatherspoon, a true number 3 to go and guard him. So you might see somebody like Nick Boyd, who of the guards, I believe, is the tallest guarding DeAndre Williams. DeAndre Williams is likely to have a slight size advantage there against Nick Boyd. But this is a team that can be beat. This is a 8-9 matchup that is a very solid matchup. You understand why these two teams got to where they were. FAU, had they lost their championship game, which they were expected to win, if they had lost that game, probably looking at a 10 seed. Memphis was not expected to beat Houston. If Houston has their best player, I believe his last name is Nasser, if they have their best player, I find it unlikely that Memphis walks away with that game with a victory. So you're looking at a situation where Memphis got a higher seed than they probably deserved because of their results in a game which Houston's best player, best team in the country, did not have their best player and then lost. So Houston might be a little overseeded based off that fact. And FAU coming from the Conference USA, don't get the preferential treatment. I get it. Very competitive game. This should be a relatively high-scoring game because the Owls can score it with anybody, can score it with anybody across the roster, really, that you feel comfortable with the ball in their hands. You have to go all the way down to Brian Greenlee finding somebody below 8 points a game. That's the 6th or 7th man on the Owls roster that you have to go find somebody below 8 points per game. There's trust in this team by Dusty May across the roster that anybody can score. I expect the Owls to come away with victory, truthfully. A little biased sitting here in this FAU studio, paid for by FAU, working for FAU. But I do truly believe that FAU is going to come away with the victory. Again, I expect it to be a high-scoring game, high-scoring affair, where FAU comes away a little bit at the end. I don't expect it to be a blowout one way or the other. I can very realistically see a 79-77 game, which when you think high-scoring, that's not typically what you expect, but for college basketball, it is. Or may crack into the 80s, 83 to 81, 83 to 79. I don't expect it to be more than a 2 or 3 possession ball game by the end because both teams can score. Memphis, it is mostly from one source, but that one source does a damn good job in Kendrick Davis averaging 22 points a game. FAU, again, a lot more spread out with the scoring, but I do expect FAU to come away with a victory, giving Kendrick Davis that Jelly Walker treatment, switching on every ball screen, attacking him as soon as he crosses half court with the ball, throwing a multitude of defenders. You're tired? Okay, cool. Greenlee, you're tired? Forrest. Then Martin. Then Davis. Then you just keep throwing him at him. Gaffney gets in the game. Gaffney is all over him. Boyd, you're all over him. A constant barrage of defense is what I expect from FH to continue to throw at Kendrick Davis. DeAndre Williams, he's going to get his. He's going to be a little harder to stop. But if anybody else on the team beats you, if you're FAU, you kind of have to live with that. You can't stop everybody. And when they have such a dominant score, one of the best scorers in the entire nation, if you can stop him, you feel very good about your chances to win. So again, I expect the Owls to win. FAU Owls to win. We're going to go with 83-78. I said like 3 scores there, but I'm going to go 83-78. FAU winning their first game to likely move on to play Purdue.